Got it. I sure did. Gotta keep that one on the film.
Recording is in progress. Well, thank you very much. Hello, everybody. We're back. Welcome back to Big Mouth Woolly Bass Podcast. I'm Ryan Willis.
And I'm Matt Willis.
And Matt, this is the first time we were recording since May 7th.
It's been a long ass hiatus.
And I am remembering why we stopped recording, because we have literally been trying to record for the last hour now, just about. And either my internet or yours, I don't know which, maybe both, our internets are just failing us again. So that has honestly been one of the biggest reasons we kind of just stopped recording, along with our schedules getting just super crazy lately. And oh, by the way, I'm a father now. But also, we don't have reliable internet connection.
Yes, we're busy men over here, each side of the country. Willis boys representing, and but hey, the biggest thing though is that we're back.
So yeah, that's pretty much what's been going on with us. Gosh, I graduated from college since the last time we spoke. Matt, you finished your welding class. I mentioned I became a father. God, yeah, there's just been a lot of stuff going on.
I had summer school classes as well.
That's right. Yeah, you sure did. So we hope everybody's doing well out there. Of course, the pandemic is still going. We have the Delta variant now to worry about, so we will never be able to have fun again, apparently. But the reason we wanted to record tonight, and honestly, we've been wanting to record for the last couple of weeks in particular, Matt, because of this team right here.
Yes.
The San Diego Padres raffle.
Singer.
They have been pissing me off to no end, really, since the All-Star break. So, Matt, the Padres, as we currently sit here tonight, Sunday, August 15th, they are 14 games above 500. They are 67-53. Any other year in the history of the San Diego Padres, we would take that in a heartbeat and be like, wow, this is awesome. We're in the middle of August. We're right in the middle of the playoff chase. We're above 500. We're not used to this. This is great. But we're still sitting here just stressed out of our minds. And we just want to throw this team off a cliff right now, because before today, they had lost 4 straight games, 3 of which were to the Arizona Diamondbacks, who I believe, if they're not the worst team record-wise in baseball, they got to be top 3, right, Matt? They are currently 38-81, and the Padres just lost 3 straight to them until they finally beat them today. What was the final score? 8-2. And
yeah,
not coincidentally, Fernando Tatis came back today, and he had 2 home runs, and I believe he had 4 hits. So he was kind of single-handedly the reason why they won today's game. And also the pitching finally actually did something, got guys out. But, Matt, what is going on with this team? Because right now, as we sit here, they are in 3rd place in the NL West. I believe they're, 10 games back of the Giants right now, or more than 10 games? I don't even know what it is. I think they only have, a 2.5 game lead over the Reds for the wild card spot, the final wild card spot. I mean, they are hanging on by a thread right now. I mean, this has just been an unbelievably frustrating last couple months.
Yeah, well, you asking me how to process this, I don't really have an answer for you there, because the talent is clearly there for this team, but a combination of injuries, bad luck, and all the components are just not coming together for them lately. And it's very frustrating, because this team should probably easily be having a minimum of a 6 to 7 game lead for that second wild card spot at the worst. And yet losing these games versus the Arizona douchebags. I know they won today, so maybe that makes me a little less heated than if we recorded last night. So if we recorded last night, I think I'll be like, F everybody. But But I don't know. It's very frustrating. Like, if you were to tell me, like, at this very moment, do I think they're going to make it the postseason as the second wild card team? I'm probably taking the half glass empty approach and saying no, but I'm still a little bit optimistic. But they're playing the worst baseball they can possibly can at the worst time, and that doesn't help them at all.
Well, the problem is they keep playing down to their competition. It's not just the Diamondbacks they've been losing to. I mean, look at the Rockies.
Yeah, they've been terrible against them.
So for whatever reason, they have no problem playing the Dodgers. They have a winning record against them. They've played the Giants tough. They've played other teams in the National League that are doing at least okay. Like they swept the Cardinals here in San Diego earlier this year. But when it comes to teams like the Diamondbacks, the Rockies, they even struggled with the Marlins. Remember when they went to Florida like a week or two ago? I think they lost that series too, didn't they? So they're losing a bunch of games that they should be winning. Good teams beat these teams, but they're not. And that's why they're finding themselves in this predicament. And I'm with you, Matt. At this point, if you ask me, do I believe that they're going to hang on to that final wild card spot? I would say no. What have they shown in the last month or two that gives us any sort of confidence that they're going to be able to hang on? They cannot make up any ground. They're obviously not going to win the division. I mean, that's completely out the window. I mean, the Giants are just not losing. They win every single night. It's the most agitating thing ever. The Giants are not supposed to be winning this year. It was supposed to be a rebuilding year. They hired Gabe Kapler, who was a joke in Philadelphia, as their manager. But here they are. All of a sudden, the Giants are the 27 Yankees. I don't get it. And then the Dodgers, who have had all sorts of issues this year, including Trevor Bauer, who's not even pitching for them right now. And I don't know if he ever will pitch for them again because of legal reasons. They're still winning.
But they usually have this really bad tendency of whenever they win a series, say they take 2 out of 3, they win the first 2 of the games, they lose the last game. So, like, we're thinking, well, hey, they took the series, right? But that one loss usually leads to a losing streak, as what just happened, just now with that last game in the Marlins series and then the D-back series. So consistency overall with this ball club, I don't know who to blame this on, because their offense, like, I'm looking at just the statistics right now on my laptop, like, statistic wise, their batting averages are up. Like, even Eric Hosmer, he's been given so much shit by, like, everyone in the baseball world.
But ground ball Hosmer.
But even he's batting 280 this year.
I see that. I'm looking at it right now. He's technically got a better batting average than Machado. Man, he's hitting 279 right now.
Yeah, so, like, I mean, they're hitting, like, at least on paper they're hitting, but for whatever reason, like, it's almost as if, like, whenever they do win, they just score like 8 to 10 runs, and then when they lose, they just get shut out. It's like there's no, like, middle ground.
Or they get no hit like they did last night by some scrub pitcher who I believe is 27 years old, who was making his major league debut. This is not a top prospect at all. Just some scrub they called up, needed somebody to start last night, and he threw a no-hitter against the Padres. I mean, that's why I don't think they're going to make it. I mean, how can they get no hit by some no-name pitcher? And that's the other issue, man. I mean, there's a lot of issues here. We're going to get into a lot of it. But when they face mediocre pitching, they make them all look like Cy Young Award winners. It's unbelievable. And this lineup is way too talented. Even if Fernando Tatis is not playing, which he has not played, like a quarter of the season at this point, because he keeps going on the IL because of his shoulder. But even if Fernando's not in the lineup, this is still a good enough lineup to get the job done. I mean, Jake Cronenworth is a great hitter. He's an all-star. Manny Machado, name speaks for itself. We know what he can bring. Hosmer, like you say, he's hitting 280. He gets a lot of shit, but he's actually hitting okay. I mean, they have the players. I mean, Tommy Pham, who was finally starting to pick it up like a month or two ago, has done a nosedive again. Now he's hitting under 250. But, Trent Grisham, here's another guy. We know what he's capable of doing. The guy was probably going to be an all-star last year. But a lot of these guys are just underperforming, and they're just very inconsistent. Will Myers has returned to the Will Myers that we were just annoyed with to no end a couple years ago. I mean, these guys are just not getting it done. And then to factor all that into the equation, the pitching has been the biggest letdown and disappointment of 2021. Yu Darvish, who was amazing and pretty much unhittable the first 2 months of the year, has been mediocre at best since then. And he's back on the IL for the second time, Matt, with a hip injury, I believe. I don't know what's going on there, but Yu has not been good. Let's just put it that way. He's had maybe a couple decent starts in the last month or two. Other than that, he has not been the ace that we were expecting. Blake Snell. Oh, Snell smells.
Blake Smell, man.
I mean, AJ Preller, the Padres general manager, got fleeced. I'm sorry, he did. I mean, he's made a lot of solid acquisitions, Matt, but this was a bad trade. And look, I don't necessarily blame him because I was actually in favor of this trade when they got Snell from Tampa Bay during the offseason, but Snell has been a train wreck. I believe his ERA is still above 5. Maybe it's just under 5 now because I know he's pitched a little bit better recently, but I mean, my God, Fisher, I think his ERA on the road is close to double digits, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Rise, that we've seen it a couple of times this year, but what's really frustrating is that when this team is actually, firing on all cylinders, they're probably the best team in baseball. And I'm not even that's not even a joke or anything. Like when they had that 9-game win streak when they first, allowed the fans back at Petco versus the Reds, the Dodgers, they were crushing everyone. And even back, and the Cardinals as well. And back in May. So we kind of have an idea of what the potential of this team can be. And that's really what they were supposed to be this year is how they were playing those months. Of course, they can't win every game. I understand that, but then again, look at the Giants. What the Giants are doing right now is basically what the Padres should be doing. And that's the frustrating part is because they spent all these money, all the money for all these acquisitions the past couple of years. And I get that they hold that second wild card spot, but it's a lot of money for them to be playing like how they've been playing the past month and a half or so. And like you said, the pitching in particular, I definitely not their strong suit this year. They started off really good early in the year. Like Darvish is an all-star. Snell did have a good start fairly recently, but that was one out of 10 starts that actually went good for him.
Well, and even when Snell has a decent outing, he's only going 5 innings, Matt.
Yeah, his pitch count.
3 times maybe. I specifically remember there was a home start earlier in the year where I believe he went 7 innings. And I'm pretty sure that's by far as good as it's gotten with him. I mean, he has not been able to duplicate that at all. And that was one of my concerns about Snell, because as we know with the Rays, he never went past 5 innings, essentially. They had him on a strict pitch count. I think it was around 80 pitches. They would yank him no matter where he was or what he was doing, as we saw in Game 6 of the World Series last year. So that was a concern of mine because he's not used to going deep into games. And sure enough, that's been a major problem. But really, it's been on him because his pitch count is so freaking high after the first couple innings. So there's just no chance that he's going to go past 5 innings more times than not.
Yeah. And, even keep talking about the pitching, Musgrove lately has not really been performing that well. Last night, he got bombed.
Yeah, he got 5 runs in the first, right?
Yeah. And, probably throughout this entire year, I'd say Darvish has been their best pitcher. But as you alluded to earlier, the past ever since the All-Star break, he had like that back issue. Like ever since that report came out, and he has just not he has not been there. But Musgrove, though, it's kind of like the same thing. Like for whatever reason, all these pitchers all at the same time are just like simultaneously.
Well, Matt, also don't forget, Major League Baseball decided about halfway through the season to ban the sticky substance that pitchers have been using for years. And we're pretty sure that both Darvish and Musgrove were users of it. What is it called? Spider tack or whatever? It's like this really sticky stuff that some pitchers in baseball were using to get a better grip, better feel on the ball. And baseball just all of a sudden decided, oh, we don't want them to do this anymore. And so we're going to ban it, even though we're like a couple
mid-season.
And some of these pitchers have been using it for most of their careers. So some of them have literally have had to like reconstruct themselves and figure out how to pitch again. And unfortunately, I feel like Darvish and Musgrove have to be in that category because they have not looked the same ever since they started enforcing these new rules.
That's a good point. I forgot about that whole situation a couple of months ago.
And I'm pretty sure Darvish admitted that he was a user of that stuff, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, I would believe it because their entire game has just gone for the worst like these past couple months. But I mean, also too, it doesn't help that Dinelson Lamet has literally had no impact while he was literally a Cy Young candidate. He was literally a Cy Young candidate just a year ago, and I'm kind of starting to question like if he'll ever look like the same Lamet he was last year ever again.
Yeah, you may remember when we had our buddy Andrew Fander on before the season when we did our preview. I mentioned, what do we think we're going to get out of Dinelson Lamet? And I said, I think you'd be lucky to get a half of a season out of the guy. And I don't even think we got that, did we? How many starts did he end up making? I don't even know. Probably no more than, 5 or 6? And most of those starts, he would only go, 3 or 4 innings, I think, if even that.
Didn't they put him in the bullpen?
I don't even remember at this point. It literally feels like he's only pitched a couple games this year.
Yeah, so we got that whole situation going on.
He should have had the damn surgery.
Like Clevenger, another injured Padre.
I guarantee you they're going to wait until the end of the season, and they're going to be like, oh, he's going to need to have surgery. He's going to be out all of next year. And maybe
all next year.
2023. Guarantee that's what's going to happen. And then Drew Pomerantz, one of our better relievers, he's out for the season. They just announced that, yesterday?
Yeah, that news just came out recently. So big bullpen piece that they're going to be missing out on. And since you're talking about the injuries, that's what I'm kind of a little bit worried about Tatis because, since he has this ongoing shoulder issue that seems to not be going away permanently this year, what's it going to take? Is he just going to try to gun a ball from right field? He's going to throw his shoulder and that's going to be it, or what? And every time
it's his left shoulder, right? That keeps popping out of place, I believe.
Oh, regardless, even just at the plate, though, that's all it might take is just another at bat, and that happened earlier in the year. He took a big, massive swing, and
that's why he's been using both hands. You may have noticed I don't think he ever lets go of the bat when he swings now. I think it's all two-handed, even in his follow-through. And then you just mentioned that they put him in the outfield. That's where he started today for the very first time out in right field. How is that going to be any better? I mean, yeah, I guess when you're at shortstop, he's going to be, diving to his left here and there. But in the outfield, he could just as easily hurt himself by diving for a ball that's hit towards him or crashing into the wall, trying to rob a home run or anything like that. There's just as much, if not more, of a chance of him getting injured in the outfield. So I don't agree with that at all. I'm not sure what the thinking is there. Maybe they're trying to tell him, hey, don't go crazy. Don't try to dive for any balls. But, yeah, I mean, that's a whole other separate issue. But, Matt, back to the pitching. To beat a dead horse. Their bullpen, I believe statistically, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but their bullpen is one of the best in baseball when it comes to ERA. But they have been struggling lately because they are so overworked.
Yeah. That's that's an issue to have your bullpen, because like for instance, we were talking about Blake Snell. If he can only go 4 innings, it's going to be the bullpen that has to carry the entire load. And even just having guys like Craig Stamen start, like he's supposed to be a middle reliever, and
Stammen started today's game. And we know that he can only go at most like 3 innings if you're lucky. He went 2 innings today and threw 33 pitches. So that's about his limit. How bad is this organization right now when it comes to just developing players that they don't even have anybody in their minor leagues right now that they can call up for a spot start? Because this is what, the second or third time that Stammen has started a game in the last week or two? You shouldn't be doing these bullpen games. You should not. But they don't have anybody apparently that they can call up. And Mackenzie Gore, I don't know what has happened to him. He has gone to a can't-miss prospect, the next Clayton Kershaw. That was what I was hearing. He has what, like a 6-something ERA in the minors? And everybody's saying he's broken, man. Like, he's lost it up here. It's all mental. He can't find the plate anymore. He's hitting guys. Yeah, they have like nobody now. Preller has just completely gutted the system because he's trying to win the World Series right now, which I commend him for. But the problem is all of our pitchers are hurt or just not performing, and we literally have nowhere else to turn.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess. That's not to jump the gun or anything, but regardless of what happens the rest of this year, AJ Preller has got his hands full, and that's assuming that he even has his job still, which I think he probably will. But if they don't make the postseason, that seat better be getting hot, man.
I mean, it's got to be. He's been the GM since what? Was it 2015 was his first year technically? He got hired in 2014. It was like right at the end of the 2014 season. So he's been here for a solid 7 years now. And what does he really have to show for it? I mean, look, I'm not saying I'm against AJ Preller. I've actually been a pretty big fan of his, and I, appreciate, his greasy trigger finger essentially when it comes to wanting to pull off these trades and just, doing anything he possibly can to improve the big league roster. And he also has proven that he can draft well, because we once upon a time had the #1 farm system in baseball. I don't think we do anymore, as we traded everybody. But he's proven he can draft well too. So he has a lot going for him, but at some point you got to start seeing some results. And I know we made the playoffs last year, but that was a 60-game regular season. Okay? What have we accomplished in a regular 162 season? We have not done anything. So I don't know. A lot of people are calling for Jace Tingler's head. Look, I'm not a big fan of Tingler. I don't like the way he uses the bullpen. He kind of reminds me of Andy Green, honestly. He just always wants to go to the bullpen. I know certain days he's forced to, but some of his decisions are questionable at best. His lineups are all over the place. He can't seem to make up his mind where he wants to put some of these guys. I don't know who to blame, Matt. I really don't. Like, the players have to perform, but the injuries definitely have been just unbearable, clearly. And we just do not have the depth to overcome it right now.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest issue, is just the injuries and the inconsistency. And I guess you can even say the inconsistency of Jace Tingler, as you just alluded to, just the constant shifting of players' positions like every single night. I mean, Cronenworth is just literally playing everywhere at this point in the infield. Randomly putting in like Hassan Kim like anywhere, and he's only batting 200. Well, I just think them paying as much as they are, I think they got the 3rd highest payroll, only behind the Yankees and the Dodgers, if I'm not mistaken. But they're just dishing out these contracts and all these trades with a lot of money involved in. I don't know. It might be a cursed year. Who knows? But I'm still holding on a little bit of hope because I do think Tatis is the MVP, and he might be able to pull something off that might go down as one of the greatest seasons ever, like to get this team to the playoffs.
And that's been going on the IL, 3 different occasions, I think.
Yeah, he's only played like 88 games this year. And he has 33 home runs. I mean, that's pretty much unheard of. So
he easily would have over 40 if he hadn't missed any time.
I hate to say it, but I mean, I think this team is just going to have to Tatis is literally going to be having to carry this team to the promised land because we clearly have seen while Tatis is not in the lineup, they play like dog shit, man.
Yeah, I don't get it. They don't seem to have any enthusiasm anymore. And it was the same thing that happened in 2019, Matt. Remember? The Padres were actually doing pretty well through the first half of the year. They finished above 500, and then they traded Franmil Reyes, who was loved in that locker room. And after that, they just completely tanked, and they just did not look like they were interested in being there. And that's kind of what it's been looking like the last month or so.
Well, historically, for the Padres, it usually goes down that way. If you remember 2010, they had the huge lead and they blew it. They had like a 10-game losing streak in August, I believe.
Yeah, that was the reason why we missed the playoffs.
And obviously, we also remember 2007 as well, and how they should have won the division that year and missed the playoffs altogether. It makes me wonder if due to the fact that there is so much trade speculation around so many players on the roster, if maybe that got into their heads when it comes to chemistry, for instance.
Yes, because as we both know, there were reports swirling that Eric Hosmer was being shopped around, at least with a couple teams. I was hearing something about maybe the Cubs are interested in swapping Rizzo for him, which would have been unbelievable. And then, of course, the Rangers, that one seemed to be the most likely trade that would happen, where Joey Gallo would be sent here and we would send them Hosmer and a bunch of money and probably a prospect or two. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I know Hosmer was pissed about it. I don't know if you saw the video, Matt, but one of the reporters here asked him about, being rumored in these trades. And basically was like, oh, would you be disappointed if you had to leave or whatever? And he's like, what do you think? Of course I would. A stupid question, bro. So I don't know. Maybe that did something to the team because supposedly Hosmer is one of the leaders in the clubhouse, even though I really question that, honestly, because I never see the guy openly saying anything to anyone, it seems like. Plus, he really has not, he's not even come close, as we know, to live up to that contract he signed. He's been one of the worst first basemen in baseball when you look at all the statistics. So I don't really know what to think there. But yeah, it seems like every trade deadline when the Padres are in it, these guys just can't handle it. I don't know if they're just mentally weak or what, but it just saps their enthusiasm. And then they ended up really not doing much of anything. They ended up trading for Adam Frazier, who, he's been all right since he came here. He's still hitting well over 300. But other than that, they didn't really do anything, Matt. And as we know, they were supposedly in on Max Scherzer from the Nationals. And Ken Rosenthal tweeted out, what was it, the day I think that the trade deadline was going to pass, or was it the day before? I can't remember now. That, oh yeah, the Padres and the Nationals are very close to finalizing a deal. They've agreed on the players. It just needs to be, confirmed. And then we didn't hear anything for 3 or 4 hours. And then all of a sudden, oh, maybe they're not going to get him after all. The Dodgers and the Red Sox are really closing in. And then, of course, as we all know, the Dodgers ended up getting him. So maybe that also has something to do with it. I don't know. Maybe the players were super stoked. Yeah, we're getting Scherzer. And then no, JK, we're getting the rug pulled out from underneath us. Not only is he not coming here, he's going to one of our hated rivals. I don't know. But either way, they didn't really hit it big in the trade deadline, which, I mean, that's not the be all end all, but they needed to add at least a starting pitcher, did they not? And they didn't do that. So it almost felt like Prowler was like, well, whatever happens this year happens.
Yeah, I agree. I think I hate to say it, but it does kind of feel like some of these players are rather mentally fragile. Because like I obviously the whole Max Scherzer thing was bullshit. Like that whole day was pretty awful because I think Ken Rosenthal should lose his job for, sending out that tweet saying that we basically have Max Scherzer. And, you know, unless if like someone gave him a complete false lead, who knows? I mean, it's that entire thing's a mystery. We'll probably be talking about it for the next 10 years, honestly, or more. But I would still say, though, that the players that are on the team are professionals. And they really should just be focused on the task at hand, which is going out there and playing the best baseball they can. And I know it sucks to be hearing about all these trade rumors. Like we've heard it with the Lakers as well. A lot of their players over the years, they seem to also be impacted by trade rumors as well. So, but I think some of these players just, for whatever reason, they just cannot handle that kind of spotlight where when like a little bit of like drama or a little bit of like distractions gets thrown their way, they can't handle it. And I think that's kind of what happened there. And hopefully, I mean, there's still some time left for this year. We got a month and a half or so. And they do play a lot of games versus the Dodgers and the Giants. So that's what's going to make or break it for me is just if they actually play up to their competition, which they usually do, believe it or not, that might keep them in the fight. But like I said, I'm just not expecting it because it's just not going their way when it matters most.
Yeah, and even if they do get that final wild card spot, and they would of course play the Dodgers, we're assuming, unless the Giants just completely collapse down the stretch. I mean, who's going to start that one game playoff for the Padres? I mean, a couple months ago, it would have been an obvious answer. It's you, Darvish, but I don't know anymore. I really don't. Is Darvish even going to be healthy at that point? Do you trust Joe Musgrove to go out there, who every other start looks great? And then the next start, he looks like dog crap, like he just did last night against the Diamondbacks. I mean, Chris Paddock has been up and down all year, and he's hurt right now as well. Ryan Weathers, who looked great for a while, looks like he no longer belongs up in the big leagues. I don't know. I mean, can they even get by the Dodgers in a one-game playoff? I mean, I know they have a winning record against them, like I mentioned, but things are just so dicey and up in the air right now. I just don't know. All I know is that if they do not make the playoffs, something's got to change, right? I mean, they cannot just bring it back the same next year and be like, oh, yeah, like it was just bad luck in 2021. We'll be better. No, like heads are going to have to roll. I don't know who's going to lose their job, but somebody's going to have to lose it. And there's going to have to be some personnel changes as well.
If I had to guess, I feel like it'd probably be Tingler's head that rolls first. That's just my prediction.
Take Ray Rothschild with him.
Yeah. I feel like for whatever reason, I feel like the ownership would probably keep Preller another year, or at least depending on how they start next year, they might fire him after the first month. But like either way, it's we're kind of we're hanging on to dear life at this point as a Padre fan or fans.
And we're expecting the worst because, well, we're lifelong Padre fans. This is just kind of how it goes. Whenever we expect great things, usually they fail miserably to meet our expectations. And that's pretty much what's going on right now. Hey, look, who knows? Maybe they'll go on a run. They'll win 5 or 6 straight. They'll start beating up on the bad teams like they should be. And they'll continue to beat the good teams. But again, they just have not shown anything of late to give me any sort of confidence that they're going to turn this around. So we'll see. I mean, look, they are still in the driver's seat technically. They do kind of control their own destiny. At least they're not playing catch up with the Reds. I mean, if the Reds were in front of them right now, I'd be even more pessimistic. So we'll see. Maybe when Yu Darvish comes back, which is supposedly going to be in a week or two, maybe he'll be good to go and he'll figure it out. Maybe Musgrove will be more consistent, but there's just a lot of question marks. There's a lot of unknowns. Too many players are having like career bad years or just super inconsistent. And I just don't know. I just don't see how they're going to get it done this year, but we'll see.
It makes me glad that football season is right around the corner.
Amen to that, brother. Start swinging the pigskin around. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. Sorry again, it's been such a long hiatus for us, but again, this is just kind of what happens when we don't have a reliable internet connection. But anyway, Matt, I would love to say we'll record again soon, but no idea if that will be the case. So until next time, I'm Ryan Willis.
No promises. I'm Matt Willis.